You took over from Grace Grossman.
I did. When she died, they appointed me. Before that, I worked with her for 2 or 3 years as the advisory board or the port council, and I was elected to that to the port council in 2002. And I only did that because Grace said, you know, we need somebody to help me with all this, and so why don't you run for it?
Well, you were involved anyway, weren't you?
Not before that. No.
You were not at all?
No.
You just knew Grace? And
yeah.
What were you doing? I mean, you've always seemed to have been involved in different aspects of the community, right? So
yeah, well,
were you ever selectman?
No. That...
No?
I love the selectmen, but to me it would be a thankless job. I mean, every time you just make a decision, you get somebody mad at you. If you make 2 decisions, everybody's mad at you.
Yeah, right. You got to put it in perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Just get used to it.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
What
other things did you do, like since the 70s?
I ran for the school committee. I was on the school committee for 9 years.
Ooh.
I was the president of the Historical Association also for 9 years. What else?
What do you think of the NHA right now?
I think it's wonderful. I think they've done a fantastic job.
You don't think it's too strict?
What do you mean too strict?
Well, should we allow people to put solar panels on their roof?
You're thinking of the Historic District Commission.
Oh, that's true. I am.
I was on the NHA Historical Association.
Right, I know. But don't they talk to each other, don't they?
Not very much, no. Well,
let me ask you that. What do you think about solar panels on these roofs?
I wouldn't object to it if they fit in. In the downtown historic district, I don't know. We might have to wait until they have more technology. I mean, they are developing solar panels that look like shingles.
Yeah.
And they have sheets instead of the big panels like I have.
Sure.
That you can just apply to a roof or to the side of a building.
Well, you look at these roofs and you're seeing asphalt. You're not seeing traditional wooden roofs.
That's correct.
So that's not right.
You're right. That's it's more modern.
Okay.
The current solar panels would stick out so much that it would take you a while to get used to it.
And you know what though, Flint? They wouldn't be here that long. I mean, if people really wanted to spend the money on them, if they're there for 10 years, I'd be surprised, because the technology's moving so fast. Pretty soon they will look like shingles. Very soon.
Well, probably you'll get used to them, yeah. But the other thing is that most of the homes on Nantucket are owned by people who don't live here year-round, so they're not really concerned too much about their electric bill. Yeah. And unless we make real incentives for them to put panels up, they're not going to bother. They don't need it.
That's right.
I mean, some people have swimming pools and they heat them all winter. And they use them in August for 2 weeks. In the pools, we heat hot water in the pool all winter. That takes energy.
Sure.
They don't care.
That's true.
I mean, who cares what the bill is?
So you're for incentives. You're for
some kind of incentive. I mean, you can't go overboard. But,
right. It creates a market.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't boost it a little bit, how do you expect people to get excited about it? Well, I think once you get used to it, like you are. You can't see your life without having them. You really love them, don't you?
It's automatic. I don't even think about it. I just look at the electric bill and say, well, before I did this, the bill would have been $120, and now it's $30.
Speaking of Nantucket and the historical value that we've placed on creating this place to look and feel the way it is. Back when you got here in the 70s, it was not as strict as it is today?
Oh, not at all.
Right.
No. There were 3,500 people living here year-round. There were about 3,000 houses on the island. And now, today, what is that, 35 years later, there are more than 10,000 people year-round. Catherine Stover says maybe 15,000. And there are 10,000 houses.
Why is our historic significance so strict, where in other towns it's not? What do you attribute that to?
I attribute that to the residents of Nantucket, who, despite the fact that many of them have sold their heritage to off-island people, many of them in the 50s realized that we have something special here and it should be preserved. And so they set up the zoning for one thing, and the Historic District Commission for another. And that was people looking far into the future, and they probably didn't realize what was going to happen. But they said, what we have here is wonderful, let's preserve it.
Preserve it.
And they did. And the Conservation Foundation, same thing. There were some summer people and some year-round people that agreed that this Nantucket has to be preserved, and they did it.
And
Walter Beinecke was
I was going to ask you about that.
He was a big help. He was very controversial at first, but if you really think back on what he did, he saved a lot. He saved the waterfront. He saved some of the historic buildings, and he, I think, convinced people that there again, Nantucket was worth preserving.
What was that controversy like back then, when you think back on it?
Oh, people didn't like him at all. They had buttons that said "No man is an island" because they thought he was taking over, you know. And in a certain respect, he did. He had to.
I mean, if you own it, it's yours.
That's right.
This country is about personal ownership.
Yep.
So you can understand why people might not like it.
Oh, sure. And
do you see any negatives?
The only negative probably would be that it changed the island. It brought the island more into the modern day, and in some respects, it was more fun back in the 70s when there were only 3,500 people here.
And we both were younger.
And we were both a lot younger.
You can't help but take that into consideration.
Oh, I mean, used to go to the chicken box and everything. I can't do that anymore.
I can't see you there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I can see you there, for sure.
I caused a little trouble in my day.
You get into any fights with Augie?
No.
Okay,
no.
good.
Never did.
You don't want to fight him?
No, you don't want to fight him. I like Augie.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
So, getting back to what you said about, how we've become, it seems to me this year especially, it's almost like a turning point. Do you feel that?
It feels different.
Does it feel like we've really, everything we've tried to achieve as far as exclusivity, keeping things expensive and attracting a certain kind of person, that this year we really got that person hooked? Yeah. It seems.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
I wonder how that's going to affect our winters now. And will more people, do you think that we're ever going to see more people coming here and staying in the winter?
No.
Yeah.
Not really. Okay. I mean, the winters can be very severe. I love it when we have a 3-foot snowstorm.
Oh.
My wife hates it, but I love it. To see Nantucket in the snow and harbor frozen over. I mean, those are photographs that I have taken of in the early 80s. There were several winters when the harbor froze and the boat. I remember we were going to leave the island one time in February, and the sound was frozen, and there was no boat for a week. No boat. In fact, the mainland papers were saying, oh, they might have to evacuate Nantucket because they can't get any food over there. Well, that's ridiculous. Where are we going to evacuate to? So anyway, there was one time we were going to take the boat, and we had to fly because there was no boat. And the harbor was frozen.
Frozen.
But, that's those are cycles,
Well, are they?
I think so, yes.
We haven't seen anything that close to...
Not in, 10 years? At least.
At least. So what do you think about that? I mean, do you believe that there is, that the world is getting warmer?
I believe it is getting warmer. I don't think man has anything to do with it. I think it's probably the sunspots, that's something we don't quite understand. And the El Nino and the jet stream and all that is totally out of man's control.
But the amount of burning that takes place around the world, though, I mean, there has to be some contributing factor to the carbon that we're throwing up in there.
Could be, but one volcano produces more CO2 than anything mankind can do in a year. And we have volcanoes, and every now and then they explode. So, I mean, what are you going to do?
What else? You were on the school committee.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah, that was interesting.
What do you think of our school system these days?
It could be better.
Yeah.
At the time, we thought it should be Nantucket the way it existed, and the people we have here and the teachers and the whole system should be like a private school system.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, in my opinion, teachers' unions have interfered with that. Society has interfered with it. Now we don't just teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. We have all this other crap that has to go on, and it's too bad. I think a reversion to what the basics are in education would be a good idea, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
Can we do them both? Can both be done?
Well, it takes a lot of time, and you know, there's only so many hours in a day. I mean, you know, you look at the school system, and about every week there's a half day for some reason, or teachers' workshops or something. They don't seem to be serious about education.
So what would you?
And still, we do produce outstanding seniors graduating from high school that go off to colleges. So we must be doing something right. I just think it could always be better.
And how would we make it better? I mean, aside from just...
You'd have to change the whole culture, and that's not easy. And it's not just Nantucket, it's everywhere. I mean, look at the U.S. education system is what, 15th or 20th in the world?
Yeah, right.
I mean, in where's it, Japan, they go to school 12 months of the year, or, you know, they have longer days, and they study harder and they work harder, and they have a better result. Maybe that's really
what it's about.
Well,
it's not so much about... It's maybe we've had it good for so long that we kind of, you know, we've just made it easier and easier for ourselves to do the things that we used to do.
And you get more and more regulations and more government interference. You know, the whole Department of Education in Washington, that's just a bureaucracy. They sit there and think up things to regulate. And for what reason? What good is it doing? It hasn't helped the education system in this country. I'd say get rid of the whole education department in Washington and let the people, the communities, keep the money themselves and spend it the way they want.
So that would be like little private, it would almost seem like a private school, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, it could be. I mean, Nantucket has the people.
What do you think of the private schools here on Nantucket?
I think they're very good. I think it's too bad that the public system has, should I say, not become good enough to keep those kids in the school system, in the public system. It should be, but they haven't. So there's an alternative because parents are looking for something that's better than our school system, and they shouldn't have to. Our school system should be better. And I don't know how you do that. I mean, it's a long time since I've been on the school committee, but it takes good administration, which I think we have now. It takes good teachers, and we have many good teachers now. And
I think it takes, you know, I think it takes more of the people. It takes parents and the people to really come together and say, we demand higher quality.
I agree. Well, that's what you have the school committee for, and that's what parents should be saying to the school committee. We demand higher quality. And the school committee should respond and say to the administration, you know, we want this, that, and the other thing. What are you going to do about it?
Now, I have my own opinion on where we're going. The part of the American dream is survival of the fittest. You know, the American dream, you don't get to where your dreams are simply by the government giving you something.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we all know that. It's kind of an instilled entrepreneurial spirit we have in this country.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to break that. But at the same time, you've got to invest in educating people. The government has to, from an early age. So, on one hand, if you take the government out of the equation, especially in the early developmental ages, you're already off on the wrong foot. Because most people won't, if you're survival of the fittest, I don't care about you, I'm doing my own thing.
What government?
Well,
federal government, state government, local government?
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough.
Federal government, in my opinion, is just a bunch of people in Washington that think up things, regulations. Oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's demand that there's be no soft drinks in the schools. I mean, what is it?
Oh, that's a good one.
What do they know about it?
But I think that's a great idea.
They should, you know, forget that. Leave the money locally, state even.